Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nexus Gaming Series. I am Jason, and this time my mic's actually working. And we've got a Division C West match coming up for you. Fountain Snipers back here on the stream, but this time to take on the so far undefeated here in C West, Bork side of the moon. And I've also got Rabid Penguin back with me again. Thanks for joining me, buddy.
Sure, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you here and share the load a little bit on the casting. But let's get into these map bans real quick here. We did have Fountain Snipers winning coin toss and electing to have first pick. Bork Side of the Moon then banning out Tomb of the Spider Queen and Garden of Terror, while Fountain Snipers banned out Sky Temple and Battlefield of Eternity. And last but not least, Bork Side of the Moon selecting to take us to Volskaya Foundry. So, kind of a unique first map pick here. Volskaya, not one of the more popular maps here in NGS, and I think a lot of that had to do with it not being in the Storm League rotation up until recently. But it's back in Storm League, and so I feel like we're starting to see it emerge a little bit here in Season 15.
Yeah, I think that had a big impact on its popularity when it was removed from the map pool, and I would expect to see it climb up a bit now that it's back in the regular rotation. And it is nice. I think the entirety of the map pool in Storm League now reflects the map pool in NGS. Is that right?
Yeah, it is, and it's very, very nice to see.
Yeah, it definitely makes practice easier. You don't have to filter out all the Warhead Junction games and Hanamuras.
I was about to say how much I'm not a fan of Warhead Junction in particular. That change alone really makes a big difference. Now, if we could just cut Braxis out of both of them, then it'd be great. It'd be perfect. I was like, congratulations, Braxis. You're the new most hated map in the pool. Though Garden of Terror probably has a close second on it. It's just, I never think of it that way, because I actually kind of like Garden of Terror.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I do have, some rose-tinted nostalgia for the days of old when you could drive the plant terror yourself, but
Oh, sure.
the new version's not too bad, I think. I feel like it's a map where there's always something to do, which is kind of nice. As a player, some maps have a fair amount of downtime.
Like Volskaya, as an example.
Great example. Yep. Even when the objective's up, that's basically downtime until.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to approach that map, but the bottom line is you can have that map objective get just absolutely obliterated in the first 30 seconds of it existing, and then suddenly there's this 3-minute period where everybody's objectives is to soak 3 lanes that are relatively close together and get 2 camps and fight over 2 camps each and fight over the 5th camp. Now, that's just not that much stuff to do in 3 minutes.
No. Although now that we're talking through it, I guess I'm starting to realize that the heal camp is basically the objective on Volskaya.
That's a really good point. I mean, it's the boss. It's the throw pit.
The thing you get for taking it is a defensive tool. So, I mean, you can kind of use it offensively to bolster an aggressive play or something, but it's not like a Punisher or even a Genji camp from Hanamura. It's oh, you get a little heal totem. Congrats.
Right. One of the things I do like about Volskaya, though, is that the robot itself is not a very good team fighter, but it does have good siege potential. So it's kind of all in how you use it. How you use it within the macro, and But I will agree with you openly that it's definitely not one of the more powerful map objectives. I don't think anybody's going to argue that, but it can be useful for that tool as long as you know kind of how to utilize it correctly. It can be a very good siege tool.
For sure, for sure. Unfortunately, it being labeled as an objective, though, often baits people into doing silly things with it.
That's true. Yeah, people often overestimate its power. Oh, and here we go. Here I was a little distracted there. But here we go. Into the draft. Oh, and I definitely got to fix this real quick. But yeah, what do you usually like to prioritize hero wise here on Volskaya?
Personally, I tend to draft kind of more of like a team fighty sort of style. Like you noted, the lanes are relatively close together, so you don't typically get a lot of kind of split macro value from, say, like a Zagara or Falstad or something like that. You typically don't need a ton of wave clear, unlike Tomb of the Spider Queen, but having more certainly doesn't hurt either. And then people who can do the camps quickly is always a bonus too.
Yeah, one of the things I really like on this map is Sylvanas, her ability to take that Merc Queen talent at level 4 and empower the turrets on this map can really help you in the map objective phase of fighting over the points.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Bacon on the side of is it Bork side of the moon is fairly proficient Sylvanas player, so that certainly could be something we see them pick up in one of the early rotations.
All right, well, they are just marching right on through the draft so far, as we see Fountain Snipers banning out the Hogger and the Phoenix. Meanwhile, Bork's side of the moon taking out Junkrat and Chromie, getting rid of some of those long-range poke heroes. Meanwhile, Orphea going to be the first pickup here for the side of Fountain Snipers.
Yeah, that's an interesting first pick, especially given Johanna still being up, as well as kind of a variety of other heroes. I wonder if Bork side of the moon is also typically highly prioritizing the Orphea pick, or if that's just kind of key to their strategy for Fountain Snipers. We'll have to see.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's an odd pickup, as that Orphea comes in, but immediately a couple of very high-profile picks, very, very high priority within the meta, Johanna and Anduin coming out. And we'll see Fountain Snipers responding with a tank and healer of their own in the Varian and the Stukov. But I feel like Bork side of the moon got the good part of that exchange. The Anduin specifically is very good at pulling people out of that taunt. Though, of course, it's not as... it's a much higher cooldown, but still can get that save every once in a while on a heavy focused target from that taunt combo.
Yeah, it is an effective tool to deal with the taunt, but like you mentioned, the cooldown trade is pretty unfavorable, so if Fountain Snipers can be kind of disciplined about forcing out the pull and then waiting that 10 or 15 seconds for Varian to taunt again, you can play around it fairly easily. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what Bork side of the moon chooses to round out the rest of their draft with, if they'll try to build in some additional protection in like a Medivh or some other sort of support type hero, or if they'll go for more of an aggressive sort of counter engage strategy.
Meanwhile, Bork side of the moon banning out Tychus, very good ability to single target down that taunt target, so a nice ban coming out from them. Mephisto being banned out by Fountain Snipers. Now we're going to see Nazebo coming out with the Blaze. Don't see a whole lot of Nazebo in NGS play, Rabbit.
Not a lot, but one of the maps that a lot of people kind of assume you're going to get to level 20 on is Volskaya Foundry. So with that kind of frame of mind, I think Nazebo seems like a more viable pick here, perhaps, than some other maps.
Yeah, and a pretty easy rotation. Top mid to be able to get him nice amount of stacks. Meanwhile, Lampico going to grab out the Raynor, and Mosley going to ban out the Leoric. Got to give an apology again from last week to the members of Fountain Snipers. I was accidentally calling Mosley Majesty most of the night, and apparently now they're all having to act as if he's royalty.
They didn't give him the crown, though, so what can you do?
I don't know. Leo's got a crown. He is a king. And the Illidan to close out the draft here for Bork side of the moon. And here, I was expecting with that Johanna Anduin pick that we were going to see a very classic and meta-style comp from Bork side of the moon. And they say, Well, let me show you our Nazebo and Illidan.
Yeah, the Anduin Johanna Blaze is about as meta as it gets, but those other assassins are maybe less frequently seen. I do see some potential combos though, you know, with the Hunt, Light Bomb, Falling Sword perhaps even, so a lot of aggressive potential on the side of Bork side of the moon should they opt into some of those heroics.
And that Illidan, though, can be very, very brittle when put up against a taunt into an Orphea and a Stukov combo, but we'll have to see. I think it's going to come out ultimately to who can execute their combos better.
Sure, they could be taking a more macro approach too, just having Illidan kind of split push during the objectives while the rest of the team sort of pokes back and forth, and then have him hunt in sort of towards the end of the objective phase and try to secure that away from the other team. We'll have to see sort of, you know, if they're looking for more of the metamorphosis or if the meta or the hunt and the macro play is kind of what they'll opt into with the Illidan.
All right, well, let's get on into game number 1 here on Volskaya Foundry. On the left, we've got the Fountain Snipers. We've got Silver Jackal playing the Orphea. We've got Mosley on the Leoric. We've got Arco on the Varian, Lampico on the Rainer, and Rusty going to be playing the Stukov.
And our red team on the right, Bork side of the moon, we have Tin on Nazebo, Dreadmaw on the Joanna, Bacon on Anduin, QT Puppy on Illidan, and Yatra on the Blaze.
Oh, Illidan really is the cutest of puppies, isn't he? Arco going to be focused here immediately, and Varian giving us a little taste of what it's like to be a level 1 Varian there, Rabbit.
Yeah, it's not a fun job being a level 1 Varian. This is the longest 4 levels of the game.
For sure. That is going to be first blood coming out for Bork side of the moon. They're going to start winning on the rotation right away as they rotate up to the top, clear that, and are now kind of hanging around the mid. They still know that they have basically nothing to worry about with this early Varian, and I mean, just look at Dreadmaw rotating in aggressively from the side. Cutie Puppy charging in, and that's going to be a ton of damage down onto Lampico. It is a 5v4 here in the mid. The Bork side of the moon going to think better of hard engaging that back on the wall, but still kind of showing that aggression that they're showing, or able to show here in the early game with that comp.
Yeah, a little surprised that Raynor didn't actually go down there, so well done to be able to escape that zombie wall death trap, and they'll move right on and pick up the turret here for Fountain Snipers while Illidan works on the corresponding turret for Bork side of the moon.
And right away we do see Tin focusing on the rotation, and this is a very good understanding of how this hero works, and kind of staying focused on it and executing. Right now, already to 31 stacks here early in the game is clearly he's looking for those stacks for the late game, Rapid.
Level 4 online, so Varian's now a real boy. He's got his taunt.
Bork side of the moon, beware. We have gone to the dark side of the moon, and Arco is immediately going to go in, get the taunt. The silence comes out, and actually locked in there a little bit because of the Nazebo wall, but it's going to be a little over half of the Johanna's health as they kind of show their teeth for the first time here in this match.
Yeah, pretty good trade, I would say, overall for Fountain Snipers. One thing that is a little curious about their draft is with the Raynor on board, they don't have a ton of burst damage to really dump into that initial taunt. You know, Orphea has a fair amount, but Raynor takes a bit to get that damage out. So we'll see kind of how often they're able to convert kills on those taunts, or, you know, if they'll have to start looking for maybe squishier, more backline heroes.
Yeah, pretty much the only way that I know of to be able to gank a Johanna is utilizing those silence combos. So I think Stukov definitely a great follow-up for the taunt. But you're right, the damage, we'll have to see if it's enough. And Arco charging out there, getting the taunt, and again, trading some good damage into 10, but that time around, Fountain Sniper's not really in position with their assassins to follow up on that taunt.
Mm-hmm. And generally, I would probably look to draft maybe another CC or something to keep the target inside of the silenced puddle. There isn't really much of that on the side of Fountain Snipers until Stukov gets his roots at 13, but good engage there, and I think without the pull, Johanna goes down.
Absolutely, and that's again a credit to Bork Side of the Moon. Bacon, it could have spent that cooldown earlier on the first attempt on Johanna, but didn't end up needing it and had it there. Here is the next taunt attempt though, coming out onto Yatra, but once again able to survive that with some Anduin healing.
Both teams just kind of skirmishing around this wave here in the middle.
Taunt is back up again. Big stun from Yatra, though, as he just dives right into the middle of Fountain Sniper. Silver Jackal getting really low. Cutie Puppy diving in, but Yatra now a little bit low, having to back up. But Raynor does end up going down, and now Mosley getting very low. And he's going to be finished off here by Cutie Puppy. So that's going to be a 2-for-0 exchange for Bork Side of the Moon, as they now have the channel going on, and they're going to be at 100 very soon here, Rabid.
Yeah, well done. A couple of their frontliners, actually both of their frontliners, Johanna and the Blaze, were fairly low. So I think that does kind of speak a little bit to some split damage maybe on the side of Fountain Snipers, and not quite being able to get enough damage on either the taunt target or sort of whoever they're calling in the team fight. So they can maybe tighten up some of that focus. It may change how that initial team fight went for them.
And Mosley going in there trying to stall, but ultimately had to back up before the rest of the Fountain Snipers were around. But we do see the first map objective going over to the side of Bork Side of the Moon, and they're immediately going to start sieging here in the mid with this Protector.
Yeah, pull forced out with the taunt attempt on the Nazebo, so pull is currently down for the Anduin. We'll see if Fountain Snipers can make use of that and find another taunt engage here in the next 60 seconds or so. Pens online though for Bork Side of the Moon, so probably unlikely that they'll be trying to push the issue too hard, especially once this Protector dies.
Yeah, meanwhile, a little bit of damage mid, and then they take the Protector bot, but looking up top, we've got 10 up here with the Gargantuan. Just getting some little extra push here on the wall in the top. Mosley, going to go ahead and rotate on up to kind of try to deny some of that push, but still a decent amount of damage in every lane. Not focusing too hard on just one, but getting some value out of every lane here from this first objective.
Yeah, and with the comp that they've got, I think that's probably fine. With the Nazebo, you're really playing for level 20, so as long as you're maintaining soak and continuing to get those stacks, Nazebo's at 96 right now. I think they're in pretty good spot for that objective.
Taking a look at these level 10s for the side of Bork Side of the Moon. They've got Light Bomb along with the Bunker, Blessed Shield, Gargantuan, and this is meta. And speaking of which, here we go. Big damage immediately coming in onto Dreadmaw. Had to get that pull out. The Bunker dropped by Yatra, but the heal camp is grabbed by Fountain Snipers. They're heroics, by the way. We saw the taunt earlier, but we'll get Juggernaut from Varian at level 10 to go along with the Entomb, the Raynor's Raiders, the Feast, and the Swipe.
Yeah, it was interesting with the Blaze Fire on top of that. Oh, we have a taunt going on the Johanna. She's able to just walk away, though. I was going to say, it was interesting with the support camp there with the Blaze Fire. They weren't able to channel it and pick it up right away, so you saw a couple people kind of right-clicking on the heal totem, but unable to actually pick that up until the fires had stopped because of how that interaction works.
Yeah, so far, Rabbits, we're at almost 8 minutes, and so far, Fountain Snipers have not been able to find a taunt combo kill. However, the one big thing that the variant comp lacks is the ability to sustained team fight. And you can tell the one big sustained team fight that happened over the mid was eventually won by Bork Side of the Moon. So I feel like Fountain Snipers have a window here where they can maybe try to get some picks and snowball this. But if they don't do it soon, it might be too late. Bork Side of the Moon might be, at that point, assured to get to level 20, where their comp really comes online with the Nazebo.
Yeah, I would say Fountain Snipers are definitely on a timer. That being said, I think you always have to respect the Leoric level 20 as well. The Silence Entomb can be game ending on its own, so they do kind of have their own wild card available with that as well, but sort of an alternate win condition from the rest of their regular comp.
Meanwhile, the second objective spawning up on the top side, control point B. Both these teams will be fighting over. Level 13s in for Bork side of the moon. They've got about a level lead, but there are level 13s for Fountain Snipers. And it looks as though Arco is maybe positioning. Looking, you do see a danger ping in the aggressive bush, though, so it feels like Bork side of the moon knows they might be looking, and Tin going to run away from Arco there. And it's only going to be Dreadmaw that's close enough. The taunt does go down, but Iron Skin popped before the Lurking Arm can come down. Still gets the pull, though, from Bacon, and for right now, Fountain Sniper's going to have to try to turn around, but there is the meta to go with the Light Bomb. I've never seen that combo before. That was pretty sweet. Rusty getting very low. Stukov the first to fall. Cutie Puppy almost dead, but just barely gets that heal in from Anduin. Arco's going to go down to the spiders. Lampico is stuck in the backside, going to mount up on his rocket and ride out on the conveyor belt.
Casual escape.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that ends up being a 2-for-0 for Bork side of the moon. And I'd be surprised if they didn't try to take this heal camp here in the meantime as well, but maybe they're just looking to get some building value topside.
Man, Light Bomb meta. What a cool combo.
Yeah, definitely a rarity given how infrequently we see Illidan these days, but very effective it seems.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what is Johanna's other ult? Why can't I remember it all of a sudden?
Falling Sword?
Yeah, there you go. Falling Sword into the Light Bomb. Kind of the same principle. And, you know, it gives him that big shield as he goes in on meta as well. So very, very interesting. I'll have to see if it continues to work out for him. It seemed pretty disruptive in the last team fight, but I like this call from Bork side of the moon. They were a little split, a little separated, and they had some time to get to level 16. Now they are level 16, immediately going in with the Light Bomb on the Joe. Cutie Puppy diving in on the backside. Big combo damage coming in, and Silver Jackal trying to live, but ends up going down in this one. Overtime going to be popped on the point, as they didn't even have the Zebo in for a lot of this. The pull comes out, and Dreadmaw's going to live, and Bork side of the moon playing with fire, but not getting burned.
Yeah, the double pull is what was needed in that fight to get both the Johanna and the Illidan out, so clutch pickup on the 16s and being able to convert that team fight again into a 2-for-0 for Bork side of the moon.
So decisive. I mean, they were very decisively waiting until level 16 before engaging that. And then the minute they got 16, they clicked in those talents and they went to work.
Yeah, that's good discipline, good use of the 16 advantage. Not sure if Fountain Snipers maybe didn't have their eye on the clock so much, or maybe felt that they had to take that fight kind of regardless, or maybe they were looking at a different advantage for that, but Protector at about half health here, starting to work on the mid fort, but with Leoric's help, he'll be able to help burn that down rather quickly.
Yeah, level 16 is now in for Fountain Snipers, so they look to be getting aggressive, and there is the big entomb into the maw, and this thing is just going off. The pull not going to be in time to save Nazebo. Cutie Puppy is isolated on the backside, going to try to slide through everybody and jump back over, but the big condemn from Dreadmaw. They are turning, but Cutie Puppy's so low, just barely living with that life steal, but Illidan ends up falling, but it's going to be a 2-for-3 exchange. 2-for-4 exchange, rather, I apologize. As Illidan just takes so much of those resources to finally get him down there. That was too much for Fountain Snipers to handle in the rest of the team fight.
Yeah, with the Varian, you basically have one reliable CC against the Illidan, and a lot of times that's usually not enough, especially with a healer. You know, they'll sustain him through that initial CC, and so afterwards, he kind of has free reign. And I think we kind of saw how problematic that can be in that last team fight, just kind of dipping in and out of the fight as his health waxed and waned, and then Johanna and Blaze kind of holding down the rest of the front line.
A final fort for the Fountain Snipers will go down. And while Bacon has just been quietly soloing this camp over here.
As you do.
As you do as Anduin, yeah. Heal camp, grabbed by Tin.
Camps being soloed.
Well, you know, I expect it from Illidan and from Nazeebo. Not so much from Anduin.
Sure.
I'm not criticizing it. Totally worked out, but I just seemed like an oddity to me. It was interesting. You know, Arco is going to sniff out Bork side of the moon, kind of taking a look at their camp. Level 20s are very close here, so this is an opportunity maybe for Fountain Snipers to get one last pre-20 fight, but they're going to just settle on grabbing their camp and their turret so they can at least have one toy for the battles ahead.
Yeah, they have almost 2 levels worth to soak yet to get on equal talent footing for the next objective, which the timer isn't available. I have not been tracking how long they have, but I feel like it
feels like it's another minute or so. No, never mind. 30 seconds.
So I don't think they'll have enough time to get level 20, at least not before a good percentage of this objective has been channeled. And Bork side of the moon is looking for a fight.
Yeah, Arco does manage to scout it out, but a little bit too late to save himself. He is going to get completely blown up there. Rusty, it does actually manage to get that heal off and make it out. The Entomb going to close out the members of Bork side of the moon, but they do get the Varian pick, and that is going to seriously hinder the ability of Fountain Snipers to... Oh, what? Hold on. Big damage coming in there from Silver Jackal to get the trade, and, you know, when you're down almost 2 full levels, Rabbit, you'll take a 1-for-1 any day of the week.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll take that trade all day.
Not only that, but Joe is heavily staggered here, so Fountain Snipers are going to have their tank back in 17 seconds, but Joe is gone for the next 40, so there's going to be a good opportunity here for Fountain Snipers to have a numbers advantage.
Yeah, we'll have to see, you know, how long it takes them to soak this level 20 and then get all the way down to bot side, as I assume that's kind of where they're going to be looking to focus on the objective and look for the next fight. Bork side of the moon, though, kind of holding this mid position, which is interesting given kind of how split their team is and the fact that Johanna is not currently on the map.
Joe down for another 8. It does look like Fountain Snipers now have their 20s and are going to head down here, but they're not going to find anybody as Illidan has escaped already to they go over to grab their camp, and you almost wonder, and here comes Arco with the answer, are they going to try to get aggressive here? And yes, they are on the hunt for the Bork side of the moon, and they have found the Bork side of the moon as they go on to Dreadmon, but look at the big stun coming in from Yatra on the flank from the bottom, and suddenly Fountain Snipers are heading in 5 different directions after that one, Rabbit. That's going to be 2 down. They are chasing down Arco, and I don't think he's going to be able to walk away from this Illidan. Arco will fall, and now they're going to go ahead and steal their camp, but what a stun and engage from Yatra there.
Yeah, this is a great example of why Johanna and Blaze are such a good combo. Johanna has both a way to clump people up with her standard W ability, and then also the long-range stun with Bless Shield. Will hit multiple targets, especially at level 20 where it stuns them for a longer duration. And then Blaze is easily able to follow that up then, either through kind of the clumping of the targets or just the multiple people who are stunned with that Bless Shield, and can put in quite a bit of work just between the 2 of them on that engage.
And Nazeebo is just hitting so hard right now. Illidan, of course, master siege member that he is. There's no hero in the game that's better at taking down these cores. And that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 1 going over to Bork side of the moon on Volskaya Foundry.
GG.
Well, Rabbit, there's a reason they're number one in the division, thus far undefeated, and they showed a lot of it there. Very good teamwork, very decisive decision making in how they wanted to play the macro, and they just seemed in sync in these team fights.
Yeah, it definitely looked really good. I think, I mean, not to take anything away from them, but I think part of that at least is the backbone of Anduin, Blaze, and Johanna getting, three of the kind of top of the meta picks for those positions. Just all really solid heroes in and of themselves. And so Nazebo, Illidan, we don't necessarily see all the time or as often, and I think they were able to shine given kind of the space created with the rest of the draft.
All right. Any talents in particular that surprised you? Anything out of the ordinary that you weren't really expecting?
Just kind of perusing them quickly here.
Yeah, me too. There's surprisingly little downtime on that match there. To really go over
Nazebo
there.
did not take the level 20, what is it called now? Vile Infection. I think he had enough stacks to do it, so he was prioritizing the Unstoppable ability, which makes sense into the Varian. If he felt like he was going to get taunted, you can just pop that and get the increased move speed, and the Unstoppable is pretty helpful, as well as the armor. So a nice sort of deviation from maybe what we would normally expect. Most of the other talents, though, I think look pretty standard for the most part. I don't know Orphea builds super well, so if anybody's an expert on that, they can comment. But
me either, and I'm the mage player, so that's more on me, to be honest. But either way, very well done from both of these teams. Definitely a good show, and I mean, really, at the end of the day, I feel like the kill counter kind of tells the tale of this one. Bork Side of the Moon just dominating in the team fights in game number 1. We'll have to see how Fountain Snipers can make some adjustments here for game 2. I really, I often talk about the test of a team being how well they do under pressure and how well they can bounce back after a game 1 loss. So I'll be very interested to see how Fountain Snipers can bounce back in this one.
I think you have to, if you have first pick, you can't let your opponent get Anduin, Blaze, and Johanna. I think that's something I would do differently.
Well, there you go. And I also want to say thank you for the follow to Joker Knows Best. And in the meantime, while we're setting up for this game number 2, we're going to take a quick break. But we'll be back for the draft here in this best of 3 series out of Division C West. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 of this best of 3 series out of Division C West. Fountain Snipers taking first pick after that Game 1 loss. Bork Side of the Moon taking us to Infernal Shrines, Rabid. I've mentioned it before, probably one of the more popular maps here in NGS, and one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, we played it in our own last series not too long ago, so definitely feels familiar.
What's familiar, Rabid, is the map objective here. Very predictable, very, very safe. Everybody pretty much plays it the same, and I feel like that's a lot of the appeal with Infernal Shrines. It's just easy to wrap your head around the map mechanics of this map.
That's true. You don't usually see a lot of, what would be the word? I want to say deviant, but that's
alternate.
A little harsh. Yes, alternate strategies on this map.
Those
not a
deviants.
Lot of cheese.
And their cheese. Those deviant juice pirates.
But yeah, you know what to expect. Kind of periodic team fights. People who are strong at fighting over small area of space, chokeholds, little corridors. You do have the shrine monkeys to contend with as well in terms of skill shots or certain abilities landing or not, and typically you see pretty standard drafts for the most part, with maybe some higher priority on heroes who do well in those shrine environments. Junkrat and Chromie being both of those, although they were banned out as well Game 1 by Bork Side of the Moon.
Yeah, same exact bans coming out from both teams, but I would say, yeah, the number one big change right here, right out the gate, is that this time around, Fountain Snipers are not going to let that Johanna get away.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I think taking Johanna, Blaze, or Anduin, one of those three for sure. Johanna, though, is definitely a great pick and is frequently picked first in a lot of games, both in Storm League as well as here in NGS.
Meanwhile, Tin going to go ahead and grab that Mephisto that was banned out last time around, so going to take that opportunity to get that before the next ban phase comes out. Meanwhile, Bacon going to be back on the Anduin for a second game in a row.
Makes sense. Strong support. Had a lot of great impact last game. Mephisto, very good on this map with the Globe talent at, is it level 4, I think? 4 or 7, one of those two. He's able to get significant cooldown reduction on his abilities, and with the lanes so close to the objectives, you can frequently keep him pretty well topped off with globes whenever he needs them.
Meanwhile, Fountain Sniper is going to get yet another high priority meta hero in the Brightwing and Tassadar. And you mentioned it, having good clear on the shrine, key to this match, and Tassadar has that in spades.
He does. I wonder if it also might be a play into the Mephisto, being able to set up the wall on Mephisto's return point, kind of having some long-range poke as well to follow up on that. We'll see how they choose to utilize that Tassadar. I think he's a great generalist assassin. He's a little bit weak to dive, but can put out a lot of damage, and his wall can create some interesting opportunities as well.
Meanwhile, Tychus is going to be banned out once again, so Bork Side of the Moon, 1, 2, 3, the exact same bans as last time. And I don't know, after that game number 1, after that win, why would you change anything?
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I don't know that we saw anything Game 1 that appeared to be significantly problematic for the side of Bork Side of the Moon. If anything, maybe looking at Leoric again, if they thought that was difficult to play around, but they do have the Anduin for the pull out of the Entomb, and they don't seem to be too concerned about that this game either. Anubarak, though, banned out against Bork Side of the Moon, so who are they going to opt into for their tank? Diablo.
Yeah, Diablo very good on this map. These shrine locations have plenty of walls for Diablo to slam people into, and just the jungle in general is just a big maze of walls. So a lot of people love to play Diablo here. Plus, regardless of which heroic he goes, of course, Lightning Breath more than APOC, but both of them give him out a decent amount of zoning, pressure, and incidental damage when you're fighting over these shrines.
Yeah, definitely strong on this map. One of his better ones, I would say, for the terrain location and just general control of the shrine environment.
And well themed,
Cassia
being
and
a Diablo
Dahaka,
map.
though. Yes, yep. Leoric as well, Mephisto, pretty solid Diablo representation there for Bork side.
Cassia even, Johanna, yeah. It's very Diablo heavy builds from both of these guys, but you have Dahaka, and there is the Illidan once again. So Cutie Puppy gonna go back to the Illidan well, even into the Cassia, which I find interesting. I feel like that Cassia pick, when I'm looking around, I mean it pairs well with the Johanna, but Cassia, Brightwing, and Johanna all seem like they're specifically targeted for Illidan. But Bork side of the moon saying, "Bet I can still get away with it."
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think hard CC is always best, but blinds do hamper Illidan a little bit. So he kind of at least requires him to use his mobility to get out of the fight for a little bit while he can't continue to auto attack if his health is low enough. But they did utilize the combo with that light bomb like we saw last game really well on the Illidan, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of go wild in some of these team fights again.
Can I just say for the record how incredibly ironic and funny I think it is that blinds hinder Illidan?
Yeah, it's been a pondering topic, I think, for Nexus philosophers since Illidan was released.
Or at the very least, since it was made light of so beautifully in Carbot animations. But either way, into game number 1 we go. Fountain Snipers on the left. We've got Rusty on the Brightwing, Silver Jackal on the Tassadar, Arco going to be playing the Johanna. We've got Mosley on the Dahaka, and Lampico on the Cassia.
And on the right side, we have Tin on the Mephisto, Bacon on the Anduin, QT Puppy on the Illidan, Dreadmaw on the Diablo, and Yatra on the Leoric. Cheese Bot Guys has been called.
Oh, yeah. Called out in chat on purpose. In all chat.
Go ahead, I dare ya.
Yeah. I don't think Fountain Snipers is going to take the bait from Bork side of the moon. Get these talents up here for y'all. While both the solo laners going to make an early trek on up to the top lane, where they will have their little slap fest back and forth.
I assume that was a callback to when you could still take out the fountains and they weren't invulnerable, and bot is very accessible, but...
Yeah, absolutely. Or just in general, when, like, in the mid lane, when you could steal the enemy camp and then hit the fountain over the wall with any ranged attack for like 6 seconds in a row, the Khazra spear throwers would just huck spears at that thing.
Yeah, that at least took some
map knowledge, I guess.
Ability. Yeah. The botch fountain, you could just walk up to it and hit it.
That's true. I actually really like that change, but I imagine Fountain Snipers not a big fan.
They patched us out, guys. We're gonna have to retire.
See, the patch that Warhead Junction came into the ranked pool was like, oh, I just got patched out of this game. See you guys later. But luckily, I've been patched back in.
On this bot camp, but it looks like 4 is going to be here just beforehand for Fountain Snipers, and they get that pickup.
Yeah, a little quicker on the rotations, little extra XP gained, and they'll grab an early camp. And I like this call, but you know what I like even more, Rabid, right now is I really like what I'm seeing. Oh, wait, hold on. There's the pull. 10 will live, and Lampico actually gets tossed over the wall there by Diablo. Gonna have to get the phase shift in. But I really like this early game approach from Bork side of the moon. They're not being hyper aggressive, and this is the mistake that a lot of teams make when they have a Diablo tank, is they go too hard early going after these picks. And Diablo's, he's kind of a little like Varian until he gets these stacks and gets some health. He's pretty brittle.
Yeah, Definitely disciplined play coming out from Dreadmaw, and then part of what I think is helping them there is just the way they've chosen to play the macro side of things. Is Leoric has maintained his double soak while Illidan went up to take the hard camp in the upper right, and so they were down a player compared to Fountain Snipers there, and I think just kind of had the ingrained nature of saying we're not going to take a 3v4 if we can help it.
Now, one thing I will say, Fountain Snipers got their camp later, so it should win up in that top lane. But meanwhile, big, heavy damage onto Lompico. Big focus from the side of Bork side of the moon. And they are going to get first blood there. Yatra and Dreadmaw taking a look at Mosley up on the top. But ultimately, it is 19-19 on the shrine. But Bork side of the moon getting that first kill. Going to now have kind of free reign here to have the positional advantage at the very least.
Yeah, and I think with the Diablo, I would expect them to have a little bit better control, at least early game, before Johanna gets the Blessed Shield. They're just a little bit light on aggressive CC, I think, for Fountain Snipers. But they're going to push back in and try to contest on the end of this objective and end up losing Brightwing in the process.
Yeah, Bork side of the moon is able to secure the first Punisher, and it is an Arcane Punisher. Meanwhile, Mosley taunting it, but not quite getting it up over the wall, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to take this down. And it looks like Dreadmaw looking for an opportunity to charge on somebody. There is the Iron Skin, though, by Arco to taunt the Punisher jump. And for now, Fountain Sniper is going to clear that up with only losing their top wall in mid, but Yatra was split out top with QT Puppy down bot and getting a little bit of extra soak there, and about a level lead right now from Bork side of the moon.
Drag on the Illidan, but he'll have the evasion and is just fine. Bork side of the moon picking up their safe camp in the mid.
Rotation up to top. Not quite finding what they were looking for on the Leo. But we'll see Fountain Snipers rotating back down. Dahaka waddling his way back out. I imagine he'll be heading top to meet the Leoric at some point here. Down bot, we see the camp being taken by Bork side of the moon. So at this point, you know, they've got a nearly full stacks on the Diablo. And at the point at which they started that objective, he had about 50. So he had gotten to the point where he was a lot tankier. They finally seemed ready to team fight. They hit the go button. And now he's nearly full, and they've got a level lead. This is going to be level 10s coming in, as they are going to go ahead and take this fight. Fountain Snipers is, and for now, the pull comes out, actually, as Dreadmaw was poised to Lightning Breath on that point. I don't know. Good pull or bad pull, Rabid?
I can't speak to the pull, but I do feel like despite the 5v4, they should have won that with level 10. So I'm not sure if I agree on the retreat call, but I guess good on Fountain Snipers for picking up the pre-level 10 camp and getting out of there without any deaths.
Yeah. Definitely a big fan of that. Meanwhile, here is the engage in the mid, and the poly comes out just long enough to stall the meta. Big play there from Rusty.
Yeah, huge.
Breaking up the combo. That's two big ults out from Bork side of the moon. They get nothing from that. And they're level 10s coming in very soon from Fountain Snipers.
To be fair, Durance is a relatively short cooldown at 50 seconds. Light Bomb also relatively low at 60 seconds.
I was just speaking of meta and Light Bomb. But yeah, you're right. I didn't even see the Durance had come out.
Well, as long as Illidan can start auto-attacking soon, he should be able to reduce that pretty significantly.
And there you go.
He's going to
right
go
on
to
the
do
camp.
the hard camp up top. So that should knock this down, I think, to manageable levels by the time they start fighting over this next shrine. Fountain Sniper is not even working on their back camp yet, though, so a little bit behind in terms of where the macro might be for this next objective.
By the way, Falling Sword for Arco here to go along with the Isolation, the Black Hole, the Ball Lightning, and Emerald Wind coming in for Fountain Snipers. Meanwhile, Light Bomb, Durance, Lightning Breath, Meta, and a Tomb for Bork side of the moon. And there is the Durance hitting 3. Big damage. Unstoppable does come out, though, with the Falling Sword. dive in from Diablo, and he's going to go ahead and hit the Lightning Breath. Big damage meta, and the Light Bomb coming in clutch that time to keep him locked into the Lightning Breath. And that's going to be a 2-0. Bork Side of the Moon coming out hitting strong here on this second engage.
Yep. A lot of defensive tools on the side of Fountain Snipers, but I think we talked about this a little bit in our own match, Jay. If you're playing to not lose and kind of playing more of the defensive game, that's usually a tougher position to play from than being the aggressive team and kind of having a plan in mind where you have a picture of what it is you're trying to accomplish and everybody sort of has a direction that they're moving in as opposed to just sort of responding to what's going on the other side.
It is easier to prepare to play for your strategy and the game you want to play than it is to prepare to counter every strategy that the enemy could throw at you. 100%.
Yep. And I think that's kind of what we just saw in that team fight there. You know, there were some great tools, some great counterplay was utilized, but at the end of the day, I think Bork Side of the Moon has a number of combos available to them, and they sort of have an idea of how they want to use those. And I'm not sure if Fountain Snipers has enough tools to deal with all of that.
Yeah, or can, you know, the big question is, can they consistently execute on something that maybe they aren't as prepared for? You know, how much of these heroes and these combos been practiced for Fountain Snipers, or are they just heavily responding to what Bork Side of the Moon is doing in this series? But either way, bottom fort does go down. Dahaka is still split out, so this is a 4v5 on the bot side, but overall, a pretty good defense. You kind of expect to lose the fort out of that situation. Level 13s coming in now for Fountain Snipers, and they look like they might be looking for something, but Leo going to go ahead and split out and start to get that that XP going. But overall, not a bad defense for Fountain Snipers there.
No, not too bad. You know, losing just a fort is not the end of the world, and they're not down too far in XP, maybe a level and a half or so.
Meanwhile, Bork Side of the Moon going to play a little bit more passive. They've definitely got the level advantage. They're going to get level 16 way before Fountain Snipers can. So I feel like they're mostly right now just looking for anything egregious in positioning. But otherwise, the Durance just barely managing to fly between the members. And Black Hole does come out, gets the stun onto Illidan, but he'll be able to slide away no problem. And that'll be a missed engage opportunity there. You actually see Diablo charging in. The meta goes in, hits 3 with the huge Lightning Breath again, and the Durance to follow, but the Emerald Wind zoning a little bit, and for now, Fountain Sniper is able to get out of that.
Yeah, well done executing those defensive tools. Tassadar unfortunately getting caught at the end of that, though, by the Entomb. Good rotation from Leoric coming in from the top to secure that one.
Yeah, you're right. So many different, and there's another Durance, as you mentioned, very low cooldown, and yeah, so many opportunities for Bork Side of the Moon to catch somebody out and get a kill. If one misses, another one's ready, and just a handful of seconds later.
One note about that cooldown on Durance, it is facilitated by the level 4 and level 13 talents on Mephisto. So the level 4 is the globe talent that gives him cooldown reduction with any globe that he picks up. And then at 13, you can have that apply to your heroic ability as well, just your cooldown reduction in general from your abilities, and then also the globes. So you're able to throw out Durance on a very short cooldown with that combination of talents.
Charge in onto Brightwing. Rusty gonna pop the AoE Unstoppable, even the Emerald Wind, but just not enough to get Brightwing out of that situation. And that's gonna be another pick, 6-0 on the kill counter right now for Bork Side of the Moon, and good timing for them as up comes the next objective in just 14 seconds.
Yep, they're well ahead in terms of XP. It's going to take a little while for Fountain Snipers to be able to catch 16s. Hold that thought, though. We got a big engage onto the 2 backliners, and they'll go down along with likely the Dahaka here.
That combo is absolutely nasty. I can see why that Mephisto was banned out in game number 1. That Durance locking everybody into that Lightning Breath the meta, the just everything being piled on there, just absolutely dirty.
Yeah, they have a lot of different layers of CC, and they don't necessarily have to be executed in a particular order. So as long as one of them lands, if there's others still available, it's pretty easy to layer them on top of that. So between Durance, the Light Bomb, the Entomb, a lot of ways to keep people locked down, and then the Diablo Fire Breath kind of pumping damage into that on top of it.
Well, both camps synced up their top lane, so nice push from Bork side of the moon, opening up the top lane keep, and meanwhile Leo just kind of hanging back here, but Fountain Snipers are going to come in, see if they can get one more 320 fight. We will see the meta 3 getting hit by the Light Bomb. Big black hole, though, to zone the members, is now Cutie Puppy all alone back here, trying to get the kill onto Cassia, still diving in deep. Cutie Puppy not stopping here. Next, focusing on Silver Jackal, flying all around, going to take down Tassadar. And finally, Mosley going to try to beat the retreat, but Cutie Puppy's still on the chase.
Yeah, that Illidan is relentless. And after kind of those initial big heroics, it seems like Fountain Snipers may not have enough resources left to deal with that, or maybe just kind of the order that their heroes fell. You know, Brightwing going down first reduces one of their CC options and not having that polymorph anymore.
Meanwhile, up top, 3 members going to go ahead and secure the top keep. In mid, we've got double catapult along with the Punisher that's still at about half health. Jumping over the wall, the Joe does get trapped into the Entomb. Going to have to use the Falling Swords to escape. Emerald Wind going to zone down on the bot side. The Punisher is wailing on the core. Does get one last jump out with the freeze, though. And if you don't have CC from the Team Rabid, you can always get it from the Frozen Punisher.
That's true. That's true. He's always happy to help.
And while they're on the core here, the core falling faster than Fountain Snipers can defend it. And that is going to be game 2 and the series going over to Bork side of the moon.
GG, well played.
Well, see West. Time to get on notice. Bork side of the moon is here. And they aren't going anywhere, Rabid. What a performance in this series.
Yeah, they look pretty dominant. What was it, 13 kill spread in both games?
Yeah, pretty crazy.
So definitely aggressive comps in both games, and well utilized heroic combos, I would say, is kind of one of the themes I noted between the two.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to the team captain for Bork side of the moon, Silver Spy. See if I can get a quick interview going. Do you want to hop into one of the lobbies for NGS?
Sure, I'll head to lobby 2.
Sounds good to me.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Looks like we've got Dreadmaw in main tank for Bork side of the moon. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
That's a very clean series coming out from you guys. If we're keeping count here on the website, looks like this is going to be 6-0 so far on the season for you guys. How are you guys feeling with this start?
Yeah, I mean we're happy about it. We've been practicing a lot of different things, and it's been working out. We have like Cutie Puppy is a new-ish member, so he's been like opening up different comps for us, and it's been going really well. I was also like more of an alt in the last season, and now I'm replacing like the main tank Matlock that we had before. So yeah, it's been really good for us.
Nice. Rabbit?
Well, that might be something helpful to kind of talk about. I know either role swapping or moving from kind of more of a sub role to main roster can be a bit of an experience for different people. What's that been like for you moving into the main tank role? Is that something that you've played on other teams, or is that pretty new for you?
No, it's pretty new for me. I haven't really played on. I haven't played on any other team. Well, I've played with the same people. I think that the team has gone through different games and things like that, but it's been largely. I've been friends with MXC Yatre for most of my life, and he sort of got me into playing with him and his crew and stuff. So it's been. I mean, I play a lot of like Storm League sort of on my own, and that. I mean, the difference that I see like playing with a team is just it's crazy how like people actually when we're on comms and we are able to make plays and react to what we're doing, it's much it's way more interesting than the randomness that is normally.
Yeah, for sure. And I would imagine that that is probably amplified quite a bit for the tank position in particular, since it's kind of your job to set things up and make it so that the rest of the team is able to accomplish things. But if there's different opinions or people moving in different directions on that, I'm sure it's pretty frustrating when you're playing kind of on your own.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's very hard to. I do mostly play tank in Storm League just because I tend to just want to fill whatever we're missing, and it's usually tank. Sometimes it's healer, but I like playing as a tank for. I like being able to be the one to sort of look at openings and then move into whatever we try to draft different combos and think about okay, well, what happens if these heroes get banned or picked, and we try to have different different ways that we can react to certain situations, which we saw this time. Like we were going to play Mephisto in the first game, and then he got banned, so we went with Illidan, and then it ended up. I mean, QT was just sort of, I guess he just wanted to play Illidan because we were kind of telling him not to in the second draft because we're like, well, they have Joe and they have Cassia, and it's probably not a good idea. But he's like, yeah, I'm sure. Well, like maybe it'll be okay. It worked out fine.
Yeah, did he say much about why he didn't care so much about that? I think Jay made a comment as well as we were loading in that the Fountain Snipers had a fair number of blinds at least. Maybe not a ton of hard CC up front, but 3 blinds between the 2 on Joanna and the 1 on Cassia. Did he say much about why that didn't seem to bother him too much, or?
I mean, he was thinking about like maybe playing somebody else, but he didn't really get into details. But I mean, I have played Joe and Cassia myself, and I know that their blinds are also kind of like targeted. And if you're a really good Illidan, you can kind of avoid them. Like with Joe, you can dive behind her and whatnot. And yeah, like it's pretty. He's played a lot of Illidan, and he's very good at like being able to dodge that kind of stuff. And also having Anduin with the light bomb is also really good for being able to set up those plays.
Yeah, hard to use blind if you're stunned, for sure.
Yes.
And yeah, it seemed like your team was particularly well prepared in terms of draft and being able to pick heroes that worked well together. It sounds like that's something that you all have worked on, and your draft prep, it sounds like, is fairly extensive as well. Is that something that just kind of evolved over time? You being kind of new to the team, or is that something that's?
I mean, I'm definitely, as far as the people on the team, I definitely do the amount of work like outside of the games because I know that Bacon and Tin and a bunch of the other players and next to Yatre, they scout the teams and they look at the matches they played and the heroes they played, and then they sort of make comps and ban accordingly. I'm just sort of along for the ride. They're just like, okay, like you're gonna play Joanna or you're gonna play Diablo or whatever. I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, I make suggestions based on what I think, but a lot of the time, we figure something out, and it seems to be working pretty well for us so far.
Sure. Just kind of following orders. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm also like I'm pretty flexible. Like I know a lot of people like Tin kind of has a reputation for playing Phoenix, so Phoenix gets banned a lot. I mean, Tin also plays a lot of other heroes, but it's just kind of funny how whenever he's in our games, like we always see Phoenix get banned on the other side because people know like how good he is.
Yeah, well, when you're level 373 on a hero, it does speak to a fair amount of time put into that particular character. So I don't know, maybe it's not warranted. Sounds like you're on the fence maybe as to whether or not people should keep doing that, but I can understand why teams might be interested in banning him out. Speaking of which, though, I was surprised to see that Fountain Snipers let you pick up Anduin, Blaze, and Johanna in the first game. Were you guys surprised to get all three of those heroes, or what did it feel like being able to kind of get some of the bigger meta picks all in one draft?
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely happy about that. It was we didn't really know what to expect. I forget who they banned. I know they banned Phoenix, but I don't remember who else they banned.
Augur was the other ban initially.
Augur, yeah, because Augur's been getting because Mexi has a lot of. He seems to be feared as Augur, so we've been seeing Augur getting banned a lot, which is fine. I mean, if they let us pick up other things, like we're very flexible, and yeah, it's been like we were fine with seeing how things played out. We were kind of surprised that Anduin got through, but no surprises.
Yeah, happy surprises. Take what you can get.
Yep.
Well, Jay, I think those are most of my interview questions. I'll turn it back over to you for shout-outs.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was about to do. Roll out the red carpet for you, and if there's any shout-outs you'd like to make, the floor is yours.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not really. I mean, the team has been great. I mean, I know that the main tank Matlock has a new kid, so he's been less active, but it's going well with him, and I mean, I'm just happy things are going well, and I hope that we have lots of challenges and see if we can win this thing and move up and keep going.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in for the interview. Congrats again on the big win, and we'll let you get back to your team to celebrate.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
All right, Rabbit. Well, I think that's going to do it for us for tonight. Thanks for the follows, everybody. Thanks for everybody who came out and watched, and GG's to both of these teams. Gotta give a big shout out to you, Rabbit. Thanks for coming and making my life easier by taking half the load. I appreciate it.
For sure. Anytime.
Even though I am a bit of a mic hog, so maybe 40% of the load, but I'll work on
that. We don't need to get exact numbers.
But I am going to go ahead and throw it over to our nightcap here in NGS right now. Over at Coffee with Sill, we have B-West matchup in Clouded Minds versus Can't Counter Pick Stupid, that is currently in game number 2 on Infernal Shrines. So we're going to send you out to that one. So, but until next time for the Nexus Gaming Series, I am Jay Zahn, and we'll see you guys later. Have a good night.